As well as being, Keith being someone who could keep up the spirits while we were going through some pretty darn tough times filming My Bloody Valentine under the conditions that we were in. There were, one of the, I'll just get right up to it, the women of My Bloody Valentine were so hot. And we had HELEN with us and Laurie, and just being in their presence, it was wonderful. You know, if we had to work all night, it was always nice to engage with Laurie and HELEN, whether it was over a cup of coffee or just sitting around talking. They were real morale boosters, whether they knew it or not. So we still talk about them today.
Yeah. How receptive was the town and the actual miners to you guys coming to film it? Like, were they resentful of having to show you, you know, how to walk and do things in the mine, or were they happy to, you know, actually be in a film?
Well, I would say that there was a mutual experience, that we were both intrigued possibly with each other, because we had never been with mines, gone into the working mine, and I don't think they had ever experienced having a film crew and actors suddenly flood their town and their mine shafts.
I remember one encounter I had in the trip that Alf described at the beginning of the project, when they sent us all down a working mine. And you know, we were actors and city boys mostly. I remember walking up to the guy underground and saying something that must have sounded pretty stupid. I said, "So, have you worked as a miner a long time, sir?" Very earnestly. And the guys who were standing around this guy just started laughing. And he just looked at me, and if you'll permit me to attempt the Cape Breton accent, he said, "I've been 35 years underground, boy." And everybody, and I said, "Oh." And he just looked at me and smiled. I get it. No, miners are special people, and so are mining families and mining women too. If anybody, it's such a tough life, and I think we were fortunate. We were really fortunate that we got to meet some of those folks. I think if we got anything right, if there's anything kind of genuine about what we achieved trying to play people like that, it's due to getting to rub shoulders with people from the town, even in the small town. Was, you know, it's a special part of Canada, Cape Breton. It's a special kind of place, you know. So if you ever get a chance to visit there, go ahead and do so.
Something I noticed do you remember when we picked up our battery packs for the first time to go in the mine? And each battery pack with a light had a number on it. And someone, the number 13 came out, and he says, "No, you're not going down there with that one. That's bad luck." I always remember that. Why do you have it?
It's the guy that don't like it. Over here.
A few of you guys elaborate death scenes. Was there any, like, broadcasting or any difficult things that you had to go through for some of you guys?
Well, it was my second movie, and I got flown to LA for the body casting. And it was the Berman Brothers, was it? They're very famous. They've done a lot of stuff since then. And apparently David Bowie had been in the studio. It must have been The Man Who Fell to Earth. Is that all right in the timeline or something? Or around the, anyway, that was pretty exciting for me. And they tell me a couple stories about David Bowie, but I'm not going to share because that would be wrong. But it was just like fun. I mean, gosh, it was so much fun. You know, they slather you full of stuff, and it's cold and it's wet. Stick stuff up your nostrils and straws up your nostrils, and it's just like, it was just so exciting. And then I had this really weird experience because some of you, as some of you know, my body was for sale on eBay. It was the weirdest thing. Like, look, and I don't think I'd seen a picture of my prosthetic until, you know, like it was 20 years later. I'm looking like it looked so real. It was freaky. I actually thought to myself, maybe I should buy it because it's just so weird that I'm out there for sale and it's just wrong. And what if people don't pay a lot of money for me? And, you know, I had a couple of ego problems, but I don't know what happened to it. Somebody's got it. Something.
I also had to have the prosthetic mold made, and I had to meet George Mahalka at the Toronto airport before I went down I had the proper postures as one who would be hung in a mine shaft. So he had me meet him at the airport restaurant, and he had me stand up, and everyone's eating their breakfast and all this. He said, okay, now stand up, and how are you going to do it? And I stand up, well, like this. Well, like this, you know. It was embarrassing because people were looking, but he was paying the bill. And, so when finally he took a few shots and gave me some, I headed down to LA, and the following morning I went to the studios where I was going to have a prosthetic mold of my body done, and I could see John Travolta's head, and I think Lauren Green and all these people. I thought, wow, I'm really in good company here. Yeah. So it was time for me to strip down and down to a little bathing suit, and they started to lather me up with Vaseline so that they could put the plaster on the front of my body and then move towards the back. And at one point, by this time I was there for an hour and 20 minutes standing still, like this, taking on the form. And at one point they started to put the plaster on my shoulders, and they were pushing too hard, and I started to fall forward. guys! And they grabbed me and pushed me back up. And then I had to stay there like for another 20 minutes after they were done. And then they had to very slowly remove the plaster cast. They hadn't put enough Vaseline on my body, especially on my inner thighs and my chest. And I had tears coming down. Rip. Women, I really sympathize with you. I know how you feel.
We're going to take a couple more questions right